Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. Today is 3v3 and I know that everyone is so excited to join me in this adventure. I personally really like 3v3, so it'll be fun. I like the theory crafting. But on the other hand, I do understand that other people don't necessarily like it. However, we do have quite a few really crazy counters here. One of the reasons I like 3v3 is because we get to use some strange teams and we get to counter some tough teams. And I got the only person in my pod with 2 galactic legends, and they don't have all of their Zetas, but they are Relic 7. They're really tricky to beat. I only have 1 galactic legend, so not only that, I have General Skywalker and Darth Revan and General Grievous to beat. It is seriously a really crazy lineup on defense, so excited to show you guys that. First, I do want to show you guys, at least shout out my patrons, so here it goes. What can I say except thank you guys so much for all of the support. You guys mean the world to me, seriously. At the start of every season, I do 2 things that I don't do in any other of my episodes, and the first of those is just talk about my Patreon a little bit. There is a lot of added value for those of you who choose to support me. I really appreciate anyone who chooses to support me, of course. I use all proceeds to just reinvest into this channel, so I'm just trying to up the production value, trying to make things better, and so hopefully every season you guys have noted at least a little bit change, a little bit of improvement, and if not, then I would love for you to be part of that. But other than that, there is a lot of added value to those who choose to support me a little bit. That everyone gets access to the arena bot, which tells you via Discord. It just sends you a message on when exactly you dropped and where you dropped to, and so you can catch people who are trying to snipe you, or if you're at work and trying to figure out how much time you're gonna have to spend climbing or whatever. It's just nice to be able to see that without actually having to log into the game. Beyond that, there is access to a private patrons chat, and I have all my unlisted videos as well. Everyone has access to that. Depending on your investment level, you can have your own private coaching room where myself and all of my so-called powerful friends can help coach you through the various trials and tribulations of Grand Arena championships. So if any of that sounds like something you're interested in, go check it out. It's in my video description of this video. Check out the link and see. I know it's not for everyone, but it's just something to think about at least. The second thing that I really like to do at the start of every Grand Arena round is celebrate the fact that I've made Kyber. And so far, knock on wood, you can maybe hear that. You can't see the wood, obviously, so you don't even know if it's real wood. But even regardless of that, I do like to celebrate that I've made Kyber all 8 seasons so far, and that's including the exhibition round. I've also made it all 8 seasons on my alternate account, which is now in Division 3. I've made my way up from like Division 11 or 10, something like that. So it's been quite the journey for my alt, but it's something worth celebrating. Getting into Kyber, sometimes it's more exclusive than others, but I've made it every time. And I try not to let the focus be on all of these accolades and whatever that I've earned, but it's just a fun time, an opportunity to celebrate a little bit, maybe just brag a tiny bit. So normally I like to do some kind of a montage using video from movie clips or whatever. Right now I'm operating off of a phone until I get my computer upgraded, and so I can what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the thumbnails from the final episode of every season, and just kind of talk you through them just a tiny bit. I'm not going to take a long time, and then we're going to jump into the 3v3 matches that I'm sure the majority of you prefer to watch, other than just watching me celebrate myself. So stay tuned. All right, so I wanted to give you guys the view of the full sheet here without my stupid head blocking the way. And so this season I called season 2 for some reason, but it's the exhibition season. Went 10-2, went 10-2 in this season as well. And then my third season, Championship 2, I went 12-0, which was exciting, of course. 11-1 here, and then this one is actually my 3v3 one, and I went 9-3, so my worst season ever. My next one I went 10-2, something like that, and then I went 11-1 in the penultimate one, and then the last one I went 12-0. So good things expected for this round. Hopefully we don't have another 9-3 slump. I'm faced off against a dude named Tachyon. So that's an interesting name, and I do have them beat in GP. You can see their high-end relics just completely destroy mine, 24-14, and then 21-13 on relic 5. So they absolutely have the advantage there. I have 40 more Zetas than them, so that is significant. They have a little bit of advantage in gear, in terms of gear 13 at least, and then mods. Mods are probably the biggest story of the day, honestly. That I had my opponent beat in every category on mods by a significant margin, and then our overall lifetime scores, I did have my opponent beat pretty soundly, but at the same time, I couldn't scout my opponent. They didn't have an swgoh.gg, so that was pretty inconvenient thing. Had no idea what they were going to do. Of course, they had both Galactic Legends, and they placed both of them. You can see they had Galactic Ray. She only has 2 Zetas, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but she is fully relicked and everything. And then they have Supreme Leader Kylo with Darth Revan. I had no idea what to make of that squad, but then they have a fully relict General Grievous squad. They have General Skywalker, just completely crazy. So just a quick screenshot showing you Rey's Zetas. She has her leadership and one of her specials. So before I was able to make my attacks, my opponent did attack themselves, and I'm not going to show you the results quite yet. You can see the screenshot there. I did have some wiggle room, and I will show you guys all of my defenses at the end. But for now, I'm going to show you guys. I needed to take out Rey. I needed to take out Kylo, and at the end of the day, I decided my best shot at taking out Kylo was with my own Supreme Leader Kylo. So I wanted to try this new method of taking out Galactic Rey. So the goal here is just to go in. Rey uses her lifeblood ability, and you see her health went down by a little bit. She kills my burner character, which I threw in there. So we're sacrificing 30 banners here in this method. And then you're going to have to just get used to the zoom function. I got a little zoom happy, apparently. So she uses lifeblood again, and then she kills the Jawa. So now her health is even lower. And at first, it seemed like this method was really working really well. You can see, I talked about this in my 3v3 video. The theory of it works. So another burner character, and she keeps just hurting herself. You see, after battle 3, she's at lower than 50%. That's great. Cup died, and she's right around the same level. And then Mob Enforcer died, and she actually healed a little bit, which is fine. She hits every once in a while, but after a while, I couldn't get her below 50%. You can see all these battles as we transition here. We're battle 16, and she's still only really at like 45% health. Battle 20, she's at the same. And so I decided I was getting to the point where they weren't even killing my characters on the first hit anymore. I was at like gear 8 or 9 on my characters. So jumped in with my Jedi training, my Jedi Revan, and you could see that Rey was at below 50%. After she did her physical attack, she was at over 50%, so now that sparks her invulnerability, which was not the intention here, but we did mark her with Jedi Revan, so we have no choice but to hit her because Holdo isn't taunting yet. And at this point, I was pretty sure I was just done for. Like, you know, the whole point of all of that was to get Jedi Revan a kill without Rey actually getting the invulnerability. But as it turned out, she was pretty vulnerable to my other damages, and yeah, it ended up panning out okay. One thing to note is I don't think this goes well if she has all of her Zetas. I did want to mention one thing real quick before we move on, and that is that I think that this counter is very consistent. A lot of people have told me that it works. I don't think I've had anyone tell me that it hasn't worked, at least the people who have done it accurately or correctly. And I think the reason it didn't work as well on this particular instance is my opponent did not have the Zeta on their Rey's Galactic Legend, and that Galactic Legend ability, it gives her a huge extra amount of health, and so this Rey was missing a huge amount of health, and so that made it so that whenever they lost 25% of their health, it wasn't nearly as impactful as if their character had been, ironically, better modded for health and had that Zeta. So I think that that's probably why. Normally you can walk down that health all the way down to about 25% or so. This time I obviously struggled, but the fact that my opponent did not have the Zetas on the right things also made it pretty easy to kind of just ignore it. So just something worth mentioning, because I know everyone is focused on this particular counter. I think it works pretty well. I'm going to make a video on it later separately, I think, and we can explore that more. But as it stands, let's move on to the rest of the match. So I actually think that because she was so weak, I could have probably beat her without using 21 teams. But as it stands, it was good practice, and it was worth trying to make sure that I was going to get there. Yeah, I was happy enough with that. So now we need to clear the rest of this zone before we try taking on the other top zone. And I decided to try an old throwback squad of mine. I used to always use my Kylo Ren First Order to take out Bossk bounty hunters, and decided I didn't want to use Watt. I had other ideas for him, potentially. And so right now what we're doing, we're just trying to get stuns on the right characters. We're trying to reduce turn meter at the right times. Bossk only has the lead Zeta, so I can dispel his taunt whenever I have the opportunity to dispel it. So I decided to two-turn stun Jango, because Jango is relict. This squad hits like a truck. It's modded to hit like a truck, and I just wanted to mitigate as much damage as we could on Jango, and it was starting to look like this was a little bit of a fail on my part. I mean, I'm not doing much damage to these guys at all. One thing to keep in mind, though, is with Bossk teams, Bossk does he gives them a ton of extra defense when they have protection, and so when you're chipping through their protection, and it gives them, maybe it even gives them extra protection. I don't remember right now, but he makes them super resilient while they have that protection. Once that protection goes, then so does his protection, so to speak, from his lead. And so you'll notice that once I started getting past the protection point, then the bounty hunters were much more susceptible to the axe to the face that I was applying, and they got what was coming to them. So you'll note that I was kind of bouncing around on my attacks with Kylo Ren unmasked. That's just to apply tenacity down, or sometimes because he does double damage with one of his specials against characters who are stunned, sometimes I was just bouncing back to do that. As it stood, after a shaky-ish start, I did manage to get 53 banners, which is great. 3v3 is, 54 is wonderful if you can manage a 54, but if you can't manage a 54, that's also honestly just fine. The the key really is to just maximize the banners that you can get. So 54, obviously great. If you can sneak in an extra banner here and there, that's also wonderful. 53, I feel just fine. So then I decided to take my own Bossk team just to be silly. This is like the mirror image of my opponents, except I'm probably a little better modded. You know, the same relic levels and everything, basically. And I'm taking them against this Night Sisters team. It's kind of a strange Night Sisters team. You see Gear 12 on Daka. After they set all these crazy squads on defense, you can see that Daka is only Gear 12. Asajj is Relic 7. And then I think Zombie's only Gear 12 as well. Something like that. Yeah, Gear 12. So... The key here is to just negate old Daka's ability to revive and Zombie's ability to revive by finishing Asajj off with Django, or with Django during his turn, or with Boba. I'm going to leave that in the video, so you guys know I stammer sometimes. Finish him off with Boba. Zombie can't revive. Old Daka can't revive them, and that easy peasy. Bossk Bounty Hunters in 3v3, an amazing team. In the back, I laughed out loud. You can see my opponent placed some very sketchy teams on defense. So, you know, they did have Geonosians, which is strong, but then I got to see some Ewoks and some Rogue One. They clearly wanted to save some characters for offense. They apparently thought that Rey was enough to just completely cock-block me from getting in the back, so needed to get in there. But first, I needed to take out their Supreme Leader Kylo. This one does have all the Zetas, or maybe they're missing one on their basic, actually. They do have Darth Revan lead. I took my Supreme Leader Kylo lead here. His Supreme Leader Kylo is faster than mine, all speed modded. So I took a mirror team except for the lead. I do think that Darth Revan is a weaker lead than Supreme Leader Kylo in this instance, because Supreme Leader Kylo's lead applies to all of his team members. And what I'm doing here, they have a Relic 7 Sith Empire Trooper. So we want to stop them from doing the crazy stuff with my own Sith Trooper. I figured instead of taking Thrawn here, which Thrawn seemed better, I figured his Kylo would just come in, stun Thrawn for 2 turns. Thrawn would just die, and I'd be without Thrawn. So eventually, I did just manage to kill Supreme Leader Kylo. There wasn't much rhyme or reason. I knew I had to feel things out. My Darth Revan was faster, so I was able to get fear on his Darth Revan. So I had the initiative, so to speak. And eventually, I did get the clear. It wasn't great banners, but one shot is great. Now he has General Skywalker, and the only real team I had to counter him, I had Padme that I could use, but I don't have General Kenobi because he's on defense, so I wanted to use Padme here, or I wanted to avoid using Padme here. So we're just going to take this Commander Luke team against General Skywalker, and they are all Relic 7, or rather, my Han and Chewie are Relic 7. Luke is Relic 3 or 4 or something. And one thing I will point out, though, my opponent did not mod his General Skywalker extremely well. He had a bunch of just kind of weird mods on them, like a speed arrow, which is fine, but then there were a couple health primaries on General Skywalker, and in general, it wasn't a consistent, really strong version of it, and so I don't want to mislead here. This team is strong because General Skywalker's strong. He's Relic 7, and the mods were good. They just weren't optimized, and so my characters all survive here, just barely. You can see he's doing his best to just completely destroy me anyways, but I managed to take them out. 49 banners, once again, isn't great, but it's a one-shot, and that really breathes life into me because I put enough things on defense that after consideration of using my Jedi Revan team to in conjunction alongside General Skywalker, like that uses up 2 teams to counter that Rey, and I didn't really have a lot of great characters available to take on his General Grievous squad, which is all super high relics, really strong. But having Padme here really makes this possibility great. If I had to use Padme to finish off General Skywalker, I don't know for sure if this counter would have worked that well. I don't know what I would have done, frankly, to take out General Grievous. I probably would have found something to be able to whittle them down, but it wouldn't have been pretty. As it stands, I don't have General Kenobi, so I don't have a taunter. They're going to be doing a lot of damage to me. So the methodology here, honestly, is whenever Magna Guard taunts, use a special to have Ahsoka go and dispel that taunt, and then if I can just take out B1. B1 is really kind of the crux here. We can't take out Grievous until we have someone with enough stacks of courage to just one-shot him. So I was biding my time there. And one thing to keep in mind, though, when you're using a Padme team, that when she uses her basic, it gives everyone protection up. Just 1 stack, and it's not that huge, but that it is nice to have that protection up because that prevents debuffs from going on your team, and Grievous really relies on those debuffs. So the other thing I want to point out, I did it just a minute ago, is when you have the opportunity, when you have a straight shot, have Padme do her kick on Grievous. Save it for Grievous. Grievous normally tries to dispel that kick, but or tries to dispel debuffs once you do them to him, but he can't because it's undispellable. So anyways, eventually I did manage to get 52 banners there, and once again, I don't think that squad was extremely well modded. I think that probably I got a little bit lucky there, frankly. And Padme is pretty shaky in 5v5 versus Grievous. I mean, you can do it, but it can get pretty messy. Without Kenobi there, I feel like getting 52 was an absolute steal. So happy with that result. And now he has this full Relic 7 Kylo Ren unmasked team, but he doesn't have Hux here, which opens the door for my Relic 1 Jedi Training Rey team to try taking it out. And the name of the game here is you need to control things. You see that Kylo, he keeps doing his AoE, and throughout the fight you need to watch R2's health, because that AoE on Kylo is completely insane. So the first thing you need to take out is Executioner, or he will literally rip your face off with his axe. That's what he's designed to do. He's amazing. He gets a lot of turns, and we need to take him out as fast as we can. He's also the only character on this team that is susceptible to expose damage, and so he's a lot easier to kill than the 2 Kylos. The reason the Jedi Training Rey is so strong against the Kylos is frankly just because not only can she control the situation really well with her various dazes and stuns, she also has a key ingredient to beating them, and that is healing immunity with her special. And the problem is, both of these characters, both of the Kylos, can use that use Kylo Ren Unmasked's leadership ability to heal themselves by a ton. Kylo Ren, original Kylo, actually heals himself a lot through his second special as well, though the AI doesn't really favor that ability. So this is great because Kylo Ren, original Kylo, I should say, also, when he does his AoE, he gives his team a huge amount of turn meter. It is just crazy, completely insane. And so if we can put Daze on everyone, Daze prevents that turn meter gain. And of course, Stun prevents them from doing anything. And this whole time I've been trying to keep their Kylo Ren Unmasked from taking a turn, because I did not want to take the chance that he stuns Rey, and then I can't, if he stunned Rey would actually like not be able to. She has a 40% chance of dispelling it immediately. If she doesn't do that, then she's just stuck for 2 turns doing nothing, and the Kylos would probably rip her apart, and so we don't want that. And one thing that I'll point out here is I was trying to get R2's health up to max before the end, so I was using a lot of specials that I didn't necessarily have to otherwise. I did manage at the very end to get his health max, so 52 banners against that high relic team with my low relic team, and I'm through the top zone already. In the back, I was like, oh cool, I get to fight Akbar. It's actually Holdo, which was funny because I've never actually fought the Raddus. And the interesting thing about that is it's a 7-star Raddus, but all of the resistance ships are lower than 7 stars. So my opponent clearly spent money on them, which more power to them. If they want to do that, no problem at all from my end, but it was just interesting. I've never faced a Raddus before at any point in any situation, so that was interesting. First, I want to clear these bottom zone. The last team that really poses much threat at all is this Geonosian team, and I did have Traya available here. The trio that I have is at Relic 3, so pretty comparable in relics here. I wanted to take all 3 because I know that people say you should only take Traya and Scion and then use Nihilus for like a solo against other teams, and I get that, but I wanted to make sure if I didn't have any other team available, frankly. if I failed against this Geonosian team, I could try a desperation like Nest solo, which that actually has an okay chance of working, but then past that it gets really sketchy. So eventually I did manage to actually just kill Spy without too much trouble. And once Spy is gone, there's not much threat to this team. I mean, they still do damage, but there's not 6 of them just pounding on you. There's only 3 of them right now, and all of my guys are Relic 3 anyways, and modded for this specific encounter, like trying to get crit avoidance up and armor, and just trying to make them as tanky as possible, essentially. So one thing I will point out that I didn't say earlier is the Brood. The Brute gets isolated so to prevent him from taunting. Now look, I'm executing the Brute. I don't have to do that, but it opens the door for Scion to take a turn. He used his special, hit with it, and was able to regenerate enough protection that he went to max, and I got 53 banners instead of 52 if I hadn't annihilated the Brute. So, little moves like that they kind of just, it's nice. In 3v3, you need as many points as you can, as many banners. You need to be safe, but at the same time, trying to get those extra banners where you can is great. So now, we actually, these teams in the back open a lot of opportunities for me to get some feats done on the first mission, because who knows what I'm going to face in the next one. So I'm using my 3 characters here from Hoth, which is Veer's lead with Stark and Snowtrooper against these really, really weak Ewoks. Decided to target Wicket first because he's only gear 11, and I mean they stood no chance at all. It was great. I love that it was on Hoth that happened, and the Imperial troopers apparently killed some Ewoks along the way in their search for Han and Leia and everything in Empire Strikes Back. So got the really easy win there. Now there's another feat that we have to work on. We have to get 12 kills from Yoda, from Grandmaster Yoda. I didn't have him on my Jedi Knight Revan team to counter that Rey squad, so decided that maybe I could get a couple kills here with Yoda. This is kind of a random concoction of a team, but I think it works fairly well. So what we have Stormtrooper Han as lead, just because he's the only one with a leadership that applies to all characters. And we're facing this Old Republic team. Watt is in here as well. He can give the taunting tech to Han, And then eventually, or immediately, I should say, he gives the weapons tech to Grandmaster Yoda. I had kind of thought that my Relic 5 Grandmaster Yoda, who's modded for offense, I figured he'd just one-shot Carth, which wasn't even close to true. So I was immediately a little, you have that pucker factor of like, oh shoot, I hope I didn't just completely misjudge this situation. But the fact is, Stormtrooper Han is going to be impossible for these guys to actually chew through. He's got a ton of protection. He regenerates his protection every time he takes a turn, and every time they hit him, he regenerates 5% protection as well. So, and then on top of that, Watt is also regenerating his protection with his special. So there's a ton of ways for Han to not die. And so we just need Yoda to eventually kill all of these Old Republic characters, and we'll be good to go. Now, Zaalbar is, of course, taunting the way he does, and he's only gear 12, though, and he starts getting extremely obnoxious and difficult to kill in the later stages of his relics and everything, but he is not relic right now, and so I managed to get a kill with Grandmaster Yoda here. He actually killed both of them, and then I was excited. I was like, yes, maybe I'll get all 3 kills with him. I have to get 12 total, but 3 would be a good start. And so he makes his attack, almost kills Mission, and then I went with Watt and actually triggered all of the dots on Mission accidentally, and so she died, and no one got credit for the kill. But I did get 54 banners, and at this point, if I didn't win, I was going to win this match regardless. You can see that I don't have quite as many banners as my opponent yet, but as long as I could take out one more team, then I would be able to get the win. I took Nest here against this Rogue One team because, frankly, the Rogue One team they have nothing I have to fear at all. I checked Jin's potency going into the match to see if she could potentially stun Nest. Her potency was at 7, so good for her. And now Nest just wipes the floor with these guys. So 55 there. Not a very good showing for Rogue One, but I'll take it. So got that zone cleared, and I got the win. At least it looked like it if my opponent couldn't clear me. And I needed to take out this Raddus ship. I had Negotiator. Instead of doing research like I normally do, I just jumped into it. Decided to take my usual lineup. And none of these ships were very good. Like I pointed out previously, they're all like 5 and 6 star. Raddus is good, and of course Holdo is good because she's at 7 stars with at least Relic 5 on her. But otherwise, none of these are that good. So without much thought, I just went in, decided to start hitting the Falcon because the Falcon can become quite obnoxious once it starts getting a bunch of stacks. And I will point out that a lot of times, if you want to take out a character, like have a guaranteed kill, use Anakin's basic because he doesn't miss with his basic in this context. So you see, I keep using his basic instead of his AoE. His AoE is amazing. It really is. It does a lot of great things, but his basic hits a little harder to individual targets, and it kills those individual targets extremely consistently because of what I just said. He doesn't miss. So as it stands, I finally did use my AoE with him, took out Y-Wing, which had come in apparently, and I took Plo in because I wanted him in early to try to heal my guys up in case I see if I could get a few good banners. Just because I was going to win doesn't mean I should get sloppy. You need to be in practice trying to make sure that you do get you do get as many banners as you can, because if you're in a situation where it's really close, those habits are really going to help you out a lot. Now, I did have Resistance Pilot target locked, so 5s came in dispelled, and 65 banners. That's pretty good. I think 67 was my max there that I could get for how many ships I brought, so Holdo, worthless ship, don't ever use it, and that was the final board state. My opponent did not attack again. You can see this is my front zone. I put a bunch of questionable teams there just to see if I could draw out some of their weaker teams. It seems like it worked. I got a couple defends with some weaker squads. And then up top, my Shock T with Clone Sergeant of all things got 3 defends. Just lots of defends overall. My mods were better than my opponent's. Nothing against my opponent, of course. Clearly a younger account. And, way fewer Zetas, less time to get all those speed mods. But, yeah, I didn't get full cleared, which was nice, and I did manage to get a few feats there. Got the Hoth Veterans one, which was gotten from the troopers, and started working on the Wars Not Make One Great. So, pretty good result, and now I can start scouting my next opponent, who has a much stronger array than this time. Alright folks, and that is it. Got the win, and it's exciting, even though that was a pretty diabolical starting front line. We made our way through it with mostly one-shots. I did think that it was a little bit hilarious that my opponent started with 100 defensive wins, which is not that great at this point, but they ended the match with 120 defensive wins, none of which were actually meaningful, really, so just kind of padded my opponent's stats, which I'm fine with. It's all good. No problem with that. It's just a funny stat, and otherwise, I'm thrilled to get the first win. And my next opponent has Galactic Ray as well, so that'll be interesting. If I can make it to the finals, they will also have either Ray or Kylo that I'll have to beat. So lots of challenging things moving forward in 3v3. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, I would really appreciate a like or a sub. Would love to grow this channel a little bit more, and anyways, I will leave you here. Stay tuned for the next match, which will be soon, and thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails.